Hello everyone. It is 8:54 on the 8th of the 10th, 2024. And this upload is quite spontaneous. Shelley planted a seed earlier. We was on the phone and she was saying about this bloke asking people to come together and meditate to break the clouds, and it reminded me of a story of an individual and of a personal story, both of which I'm going to share here with you. But before I do, introduction. This is my channel, the Self-Preservation Society. I'm Basil, Broadcasting Truth and Therapy, BBTT, and here I am using the talking stick. And I just want to make a point before I go on. As I sat these last few minutes thinking about this upload and what I've been saying, certainly in the last few uploads that I've done, I realised I'm speaking with quite a lot of freedom. And I realise, because of that, I may be upsetting a few people with some of the rhetoric you've heard from me in certainly throughout my channel, but certainly in the last few videos, all under spiritual possession. Henry Kissinger was right, this, that, and the other. And I just want to make it clear to anybody and everybody, I do not give a flying fuck who I offend when I speak the truth, as I do at my point of knowing and awareness. I don't care if you're a spiritualist, medium, a truther, whatever you are. I don't care if I offend you. What I care about passionately is those that will be deceived if I do not speak the truth at my point of knowing and awareness. So, just want to make that clear. So anybody in the spiritualist movement that is challenged by what I say, ask yourself why you're challenged. Anybody in the truther movement that is challenged by what I say, then ask yourself why you feel challenged. You know, because my intention is pure, it's honourable, it's based upon the principles of universal and natural law, LORE, and common law, LAW, and I do it because it's the right thing to do, and I do it for the right reasons. Not to court favour with anybody, but to be true to myself, first and foremost, and to be true to all that was, is, and will be. In my last upload, I spoke about people such as Helen Duncan and Florrie Cook, William Crooks, and whatever. I think I briefly mentioned Jack Webber, and I've invited you to research them. And I invite you to research this man as well, that I'm going to talk about here today. Frank Falls Crow. He was the ceremonial chief of the Teton band of what you know as the Sioux, the Lakota. And some people that I know from the powwow movement that I become aware of in 1989, when Bert English first come to the church I was running at Biggin Hall in Dover. And through getting to know him, association with him, I started going to the powwows, this, that, and the other, here in the UK. Eventually ended up on the singing team and whatever. But I met a lot of people there people like Grandpa Kim Oakeshott and Keith Lord and Steve Ratty and others that had gone over to the United States in the early 70s, I believe it was, because of their interest in the native people, and they went and stayed at Pine Ridge and were invited to do so. If I got this story right, and if I haven't got it right, because my memory's a bit faded, so some Keith Lord, for instance, you'll find him on Facebook. He's still about, and I'm sure he'll qualify it for you, and everything else I'm going to say here later on. But they went over there at the invitation of a bloke called Eddie Loon, who was the first Native American mayor, I'm led to believe. One of the reasons they went over there was because he started a ceremony, certainly with Keith, which was a making of relative ceremony here, and he said, we'll finish it when you come to the States, which I believe that did happen. But a crowd of them went over, led by Grandpa Kim Oakeshott, who was a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful soul. And again, I'm not too clear on everybody that went over there with them. I think Peter Cowling did. I think John Datlin did. Very dear friend of mine. I think Ted and Curly Blackmore went over there as well. I'm not sure. But again, if you want to, look up Steve Ratty on Facebook and or Keith Lord, and they will qualify what I'm about to tell you. Because they were there. I think them and Pete Cowling are probably the last three of that group that went over. I may be wrong there. I think Charlie Clayton went over as well. But like I say, names that mean nothing to you, but I'm just saying that so you, if you do seek to research what I'm going to tell you here anymore, then you will do. Among the many things that happened while they was over there, they done sweat lodge ceremonies, they done fishing quests, and what have you, and they met with elders, and Frank Fallscrow was one of those elders they met with, and he charged them to come back and to tell the British people, the English people, that John Wayne didn't kill us Indians, and he was speaking tongue-in-cheek there when he called himself Indian. And he charged them with taking back sacred ceremonies and rites of the Lakota and sharing them and practicing them. And I think the only one they wasn't allowed to practice or to teach or whatever was the catching a ball ceremony. And you look up that yourselves and learn about it. The powwow movement in the UK started when they come back. Grandpa Kim and the others, and they learnt the songs, they learnt how to make drums, this, that and the other, and they learnt how to dance, you know, to all the different dances, especially the Lakota done, for often ceremonial reasons, but also what they call intertribal, you know, which is anybody can do it, you know. But anyway, Frank Fallscrow was very, very highly respected by his people. And he had the ability, and it's well recorded, look for his book, by Thomas E. Miles. Tells the story of Frank Fosco. He had the ability to split the clouds. If they was like having a powwow or something and it was outside and you know, the weather looked threatening, people would go to Frank with gifts, often tobacco, and ask him if he could split the clouds, which he did. And he was able to do that first and foremost because his intention was pure and honourable. And intention is always key. He would speak to the clouds, to the four winds, to you know, the Wakan Tonka Tonka Sheila, the Great Mystery, and anyone else that he would think of, and offer tobacco to the four directions, and to Grandfather Sky, to Mother Earth, and to the Great Mystery, and ask that the clouds would split, and they did. They split, and the people could dance, do ceremony, whatever they were doing, because they went to him with honourable intentions, and he beseeched with honourable intentions. And I've often said on this channel, intention is key. Just like the Jack Webbers of this world, the Florrie Cooks of this world, the Helen Duncans of this world that I spoke about in my last upload, intention is key. A few years ago, I think it might well be the last powwow I ever went to, down at West Noyle in Wiltshire at the Bison Gallery, the Buffalo Farm. And it's stopped now. I think it run for 30 years, if I remember rightly. But again, Keith or Steve or someone, if you find them, they will give you the finer details. And I think the reason I went to that one was because it was the first one, and again, I may be wrong here, a few years ago, it was the first one after Grandpa Kim Oakshott had passed away. And I drove down there from Dover, and it was held outside. A dance harbour was built, this, that, and the other. It's held outside. Loads of teepees up, this, that, and the other. People would come and camp for the week or whatever, and powwow would be, the main powwow would be on the Saturday, but often they would also dance and powwow on the Sunday. I was there on the Saturday, and Keith Lord was the MC, and the sky looked a bit threatening, this, that, and the other. And apparently the year before it had rained, and they'd had to go inside a barn and do it, you know, because it was too wet outside. But the clouds were threatening, and Keith asked everybody to put their thoughts together to split the clouds, this, that, and the other. And if he'd done that once, he must have done it 3 or 4, maybe 5 times. Well, eventually, what I'd done, and I shouldn't have done it, and Keith did try to stop me over the mic, I walked into the arbour, into the dance arbour. Shouldn't have done that because it had all been smudged with sage, this, that, and the other. Prayers have been said, and I shouldn't have gone in there. Nobody should have gone in there until the grand entry. and the powwow started. But nevertheless, I did wear angels, fear to tread, and my intention was pure. And I got my tobacco out, went to the centre, and got some tobacco out, and then walked to the 4 directions. And each time I went to the direction, I put the tobacco down, offered it back to the earth, but first I spoke to the clouds and that direction, asking that the clouds would break in order that the people could dance and the people could pray, because that's what the dance is. It's a prayer to the native people, the indigenous people of America. And I've done all that, and while I'm doing it, you know, I heard Keith say over the microphone, he never mentioned my name, he said, not allowed in there, and I just put my hands together to make the sign of prayer, and he left me alone. And I continued to do this, beseech the 4 directions, Grandfather Sky, Grandmother Earth, and the Great Mystery, in the way that I think Fool's Crow would have done. And I'm not putting myself up there with Fool's Crow, let me tell you. But my intention was exactly the same as his when he was asked to do it. It was honourable. It was humble. Anyway, the clouds broke. They split. And the powwow, the grand entry, and went ahead, and it continued for a few hours until the retreat when it closes, and everybody danced outside the sun. Beautiful. When it finished, I went and said my goodbyes to everybody and whatever, and got in my car and drove away from the West Nile, from the farm, up through loads of, these country lanes until it brought me out on the A303, the main arterial route to the West Country, and obviously back to London, etc., or back to the M3 and then up to London, up to the M25. I just got to the junction that would allow me to join the A303s, well gone 6 o'clock, and all of a sudden the skies opened and my windshield wipers were going as fast as possible. And this, I can remember it, I'm feeling it again now, this feeling come over me, tingles all up my spine, this, that and the other, and I just said, looked up and said, Palamie, which means thank you. Because the people have been able to dance and pray all afternoon on Mother Earth's breast, on the ground, as it should be. And I got such a warm feeling as those first raindrops hit my windscreen this Saturday. Anyway, I drove home this Saturday. Nothing was mentioned about that for, I think, well over a year, if not longer. Maybe quite a bit longer. And one day, me and Keith were on the phone together, and it come up. I brought it up, and he said, yeah, I remember that. I said to him, I said, I couldn't understand why you hadn't done it. And the reason he didn't do it, as I remember him telling me, was he didn't think that he should or could. He was too humble to do something like that. you know, to think that he could do something like that. And he could. Without a shadow of a doubt, he could. But nevertheless, I've done it. And I've done it a few times since. I don't do it willy-nilly. I don't abuse that knowledge, that power, whatever you want to call it. But a few years went by and a new committee was formed in Dover for the carnival. And it was headed by a bloke called Sid Perkins. And he, me and Sid used to chat. We was introduced, got to know each other. And I can't remember how it came up, but this story came out. I shared it with him. And he said, would you do that for us? And I knew their intention was pure and honourable. It was to raise money for local causes and also to bring some colour and that to the town. Try and restore the carnival as it used to be. So I did. I went down there on the day of the carnival for 4 years and done that, and I never had a drop of rain at any time. Maybe luck. I don't know. My point in sharing this story to you is, and I'll share it with all humility, don't want anybody thinking, oh, you're wonderful, this, that, and that. When your intention is pure and honourable, you can do things like this. You always had the power. All of us have. What defines us, all of us, individually and collectively, is how we use that power. That's what defines us. How we use that power. And that's the difference between the spiritual self, the physical self, the spiritual self, and the true self, the conscious self. That's the difference. You know, I didn't know it at the time down at West Noyle. I was standing there as I knew it, in the spiritual self, as I felt it. But looking back and knowing what I've learned and become aware of over the years, you can only do stuff like that, I feel, if your intention is pure, this, that, and the other, and you're working from the highest aspect of self, which is the soul, source consciousness. And so I say to you people, with a good heart, with humble words and a good heart, if you turn your tellies off and go outside and speak as an equal to the universe, speak as an equal, don't pray. Don't want nobody to pray, P-R-A-Y, because then you become the prey, you show weakness. Stand in your power with humility, in a humble way. Let your intention be pure and honourable and just, and communicate, speak to the universe as an equal. And if we can do that all over the world, you know, I haven't said this for a while, but 10 o'clock in the evening and 10 o'clock in the morning. I say 10 o'clock in the evening because when I first started this journey, the Greater World, a spiritualist organisation in Britain, used to have a thing called the healing minute at 10 o'clock at night. But you know, I've learned a lot since then, and I said in much earlier broadcasts, if you do this at 10 o'clock in the evening, 10 o'clock in the morning, all the different time zones around the world, we more or less cover the 24 hours of the clock of the day. And like I say, I'm not exaggerating, but they tell you, like in The Wizard of Oz, at the end, with her red shoes, you always had the power, she was told. We just have to realise that power with real eyes to see through the real lies that keep us walking in darkness, in fear, and in ignorance. Come together right now. Man up. Break through the barriers of the mind, the ego, the physical self, the spiritual self. Break through all those barriers to the true self. Go within or go without. And when you go within and you find that essence within you that is greater than all the other aspects of who you are in the physical, embrace it, understand it, and bring it out and utilize it and use it with humility, in a humble way, with all good intention. And we can rid ourselves of our own personal darknesses, shadows, this, that, and the other. And if we work together, we can free this third dimensional reality from all of it that ties, bonds us, and controls us, and keeps us subjugated in fear, ignorance, blindness. Open your eyes, open your eye, your third eye, that you may see. It is within each of us that are incarnated souls here to change everything. It is incumbent upon us to change everything. And if you think you can't do it, then you won't do it. But if you feel you can do it, then you will do it. Not overnight. If you want to manifest something, loads of people talking about manifesting money and this, that, and the other. That won't serve you. That won't serve you because money's not real. You have the use of their money. It's their money. You have the use of it under license. The same as everything else you have is under license. Let's change it. Change you as I've changed me. Don't worry about what other people are going to say about you. How you judge yourself is relevant. Not how other people judge you. How you judge yourself is relevant. And don't be frightened to judge yourself. And free yourself of all the indoctrination that keeps us on our knees, in fear, in ignorance, compliant with those that seek to own us and control us. We can change everything. We really can. First, we need the will to do so. And then we need the intention to do so. You are more powerful than them. Individually, you are more powerful than them. Collectively, we are more powerful than anything that they can throw at us. That's the truth. All we have to do is understand, resonate with, and work in accordance with universal and natural law, LORE, and common law, LAW. It's that simple, people. You've got to unlearn all that they told you you are to learn what you are. That is it. That is it in a nutshell. Look up Frank Fosco. It's book by Thomas E. Miles. You might find the story of it somewhere on Facebook. I don't know. I hope you do. Or on the internet, rather. You might find that story. But it's a true story. He was revered and respected for being a truly humble man. A truly humble soul. And he lived to give. As I do. And if I offend you, ask why you're offended. Before you attack me. You want to attack me, water off duck's back. But everything I do for you to empower, enlighten and enable. Because I know, I have a knowing and I am aware that you are so much more than what they tell you you are. And people like Frank Fosco, a humble man, Helen Duncan, Florrie Cook, Jack Webber and others will show you that if you listen to their story and what they've done. But you're right in your own story. We all are. Let your story make a difference as you write it. First and foremost to you, and then to everything that ever was, is and will be outside of you. Palamia, thank you. In Lakesh, in UOC and enemy. Mitakwe o Yasin, we are all related, we are all relatives, but I tell you, we're all connected. If this message resonates, share the message. Share anything on my main BitChute channel, and if you're not watching it there, there's a link to it in the description box below, how you can connect with me on Facebook, the group I run on there, on MeWe, my profile and the group I run on there, and my email address is there. And if you want to talk to me, if you're in the UK, email me, I'll give you my number. If you're abroad, email me, I'll give you my Skype. If I can help, I will. But I'm not the panacea to the ills of this world. I will do my part to redress them, and I will continue to do my part to redress them. What else are we here for? It's certainly not the bread and circuses that they serve up to us and encourage us to take part in, to embrace. It's certainly not their money and their false idols that fool. It's the thing about being on a pedestal. When you put people on pedestals, P. Diddy, the latest, whatever, Jimmy Savile, Gary Glitter, this, that, and there, and anybody else you care to mention, when you're on a pedestal, the only way is down. Stop making gods and false idols of these peoples. Because I tell thee, ye are all gods. You are the creator of that which you and we experience. Let's create something new.